I should have checked the sound. I should have checked the sound. I know. Alright, I'm gonna give a minute for everyone to hop back on. So that was fully my fault. Here I was trying to create a nice live stream, and I don't know if you've tried to do a Facebook Live off of your computer, but Facebook has all of these new settings, right, that make it really complicated. It's like the Facebook Live producer. And I guess that the microphone wasn't connected, because the last time I tried to go live via my computer, I couldn't get it working. It was so complicated. And so I wanted to find a third-party kind of software to do it. And I guess the microphone aspect wasn't connected. So I should have checked, but hopefully you can hear me now. So please let me know if you can hear me. And that way I can, because I was getting in on some really, really juicy information there. So I'm going to make sure that I remember everything that I was saying. Just let me know if you can hear me in the comments. Just confirm it for me now. If you can hear me. Oh yeah, there I am. And that way I can, because I was getting in on some really, really juicy information there. So okay. It's lagging a bit on the laptop. Anyway, so I'm here now and you can hear me. Yay. So let's get into it. So I was hopping on before to talk about how to receive guidance from your higher self, because this is something that my clients come to me over and over again with. It's one, they're asking, can you check in with what my higher self has to say about my business, and how can I receive guidance for myself? And it's kind of something that I see over and over again, which I love because it's so important, needed, and necessary right now. If you are a light worker here with a soul purpose, you have work to be doing, all of the kind of desires and visions that you've been receiving for yourself in your manifestation work, in whatever work you're doing, okay, maybe I want to publish a book, maybe I want to be doing events, maybe I want to be speaking on stage, maybe I want to have a business that I run whilst I'm in the middle of nowhere. Whatever those goals are for you, whatever those desires are for you, you are being supported in creating them, right? Because your business, your work here, it's not just about creating a business. You're creating a movement, you're creating an impact, you're creating a change in the world, and you're living your soul purpose here. And so of course your spiritual team, the entire spiritual energy behind you that's supporting you, of course they want you to succeed in that. And so they're always giving you tools, directions, guidance, advice to reach the next step. And so in this video today, that's what I really want to talk about, how you can actually start to tune into that more. And if you're already psychic, intuitive, and you haven't been doing it, why it's important to actually start. So when it comes to our business, right, we are constantly receiving guidance from our soul, our higher self. So let me just clarify a little bit about that. So our soul is what is within us right now, okay? And our higher self is a higher dimensional aspect of our soul. So you can always think of it as more of your soul, because all of your soul cannot fit into the third density body that you have at the moment. And so the ultimate goal for light workers on this planet is to embody the fifth dimensional higher self fully, right? To bring all of that soul down into our body, into our lives. And what ultimately happens then is we move into a fifth dimensional state, which is ascension. So that's the ultimate goal. And so whatever guidance that we're receiving from that higher self, from that soul, it's supporting us on our path and on our work here. And so you've got this smaller aspect, your soul, within yourself, the higher aspect, which is the higher self, the larger part of that soul, but it also goes up. So after that, we have the monadic self, the monadic soul, which is an even larger aspect of the soul. But what we're working with here, and what most people are connected to, and when they're receiving guidance from their higher self, it's from the fifth dimensional higher self, because it's so close to our on our frequency level. It's very close to us, and most of the time you're already connecting and speaking to your higher self, but you may not be aware of it, you may not do it intentionally, you may not know. So generally throughout the day, you're going to be getting nudges, you're going to be getting words, direction, divine inspiration from your higher self as a consistent basis, right? It's something that just keeps happening. And for most people, they don't realize that it's your higher self actually coming through. They don't pay it any attention, or they just kind of put it in the background. And so there are really kind of two ways to actually start connecting in with your higher self here. The first being a really methodical approach, and the second being kind of an organic flowing one. And they're both really helpful. I work with both. So the methodical one you can think of when you actually sit down and you set the intention to connect with your higher self. So this would be where you might be during your meditation, it might be before you go to sleep, and you say, higher self, what's the next step that I have to take? Higher self, what do I need to be doing right now in my business? Okay? And you just send that out and you allow yourself to receive. For some of you, you'll get responses super fast, super easily. For some of you, you might just get a little bit, depending on how much you've worked your intuition. And that is something that can be absolutely developed with practice. And if you really want to get like fully into channeling, I would recommend you do Channeling Spirit Academy. But anyone can start to really nourish that connection with your higher self. And you can also, with the methodical approach, let's say you have goals, right? So you're like, okay, I really want to start my business, or I really want to scale my business. This is my goals. This is how I want to impact people. This is how much money I want to make. You can write that all out and then go, higher self, what do I need to do to create that? And I've done that with courses that I've done in the past, like the last mastermind I launched. That was totally channeled. I didn't know I was going to do that, but my higher self said, this is the next step for you, and gave me instructions on what I actually had to create. So that's a really methodical approach for tuning in and working with your higher self. And I do that pretty much daily, because there's always guidance that wants to come through from your higher self. And the second way you can do it is actually a really organic approach. And this is where you're just getting divine inspiration, insight, information throughout the day, that's just kind of flowing through. This is though can be tricky for people, because they either don't recognize that it's the higher self coming through, or they can kind of ignore it and put it away. And so as an example, I've been receiving divine guidance for quite a many months now about a course that I've been working on, getting ready to launch, and they keep saying, you know, this is what you have to be doing. You need to be focusing on this. And I just keep getting like these insights and downloads about it throughout the day. Now, I could, for example, just go, oh, that's come from nowhere, ignore it, push it away. But it's really important to actually go, okay, that actually really resonates, that speaks to me, and to pull it out and to actually hold on to that. And as a light worker, right, as someone whose sole purpose involves impacting the world and assisting others in their ascension, that's what your business does essentially, right? It's not just about you, it's about all the people that you're helping, and it's about the spiritual energy of it too, right? There's so much more than just a business, just sales transaction. Spiritual businesses are a lot more around that. They're a movement, they're an impact. There's a huge purpose behind them. And so when it comes to all of these desires that you may have, we have something that's called a height of potential timeline available for us, right? And your height of potential timeline, and this is something that was actually shared with me in a channeling that I did with my higher self, is they actually show you and say to you, this is the highest of potentials that is available to you in this lifetime. And most often those desires that you have of if it's write a book, run classes, run an online business, whatever it is, they're aligned with that highest potential timeline because you're already tuning into it. Your desires, your visionings are given to you for a reason because they're aligned with your soul purpose, your soul work, and that highest potential timeline. And so the guidance that we're receiving is actually bringing us onto that timeline for us to fulfill and step into that timeline as much as possible. And what happens when we ignore the divine guidance is that we separate from that path as we move into a different timeline that might not be as conducive, as beneficial, or as fulfilling for us. So here's the thing. We have such immense power of mind, of will, of force, of energy. And this is something that we see very much, and it's very masculine in its nature. You can create a successful business purely out of the power of your will, out of your mind, out of your force. But it's not going to be nourishing. It's not going to be, it's not going to feel good, right? It's going to feel dry, burnt out, exhausted. You're not going to feel lit up, inspired, and like you're living the life that you came here to live. That's a business created by force and by will and out of divine alignment. When we create a business that's in divine alignment and working with those feminine aspects of intuition, channeling, working with the divine, we create a business that's aligned with our soul purpose and our soul work. So my framework for my business and when I work with my clients is strategy, mindset, and spirit, right? So yes, the strategy is so important. The mindset, so important. But without the spirit, the spiritual aspect of our business, we might be creating a business that's not in alignment for us at all, that we're going to build out and then a year later go, damn, I don't want to be doing this. This isn't how I want to live my life. And we're not going to meet the potential clients that we are to meet, because guess what? When you're doing your soul work, there are clients that you have that are a soul match for you. For you to meet those soulmate clients, literally they're a soul match for you, you have to be doing your soul work. And so when you get these guidances, these nudges, whatever they are, that are telling you, launch this course, step into this, do this work, you have to listen to them because they're leading you on that highest potential timeline for you. And there's an exercise that I highly recommend you do where you actually just sit, you call in your higher self and you say to your higher self, show me what's possible on my height of potential timeline, right? And your higher self will show you the timeline that is available for you, the future that is available for you. And what's going to happen is that they're going to give you guidance and steps to create that timeline. But it's going to be really important for you to just trust and lean into it. And this is probably where people struggle the most, because even when I work with some clients, sometimes they'll come to me and they say, I've been doing this, but I don't know, it doesn't feel right to me. And I'm like, okay, well, intuitively, what are you actually feeling that you need to be doing? And they already knew the answer, but, they weren't trusting it. They hadn't given themselves permission to live from that state of intuition, of divine trust. And it's actually stopping them and holding them back. So in your life at the moment, if you're doing things that your intuition is like, no, not in alignment, don't do it, it's not right, it's time to have a look at those things. And I'm not talking about things that make you uncomfortable, right? Like, let's say you're like, I don't want to live stream because it makes me uncomfortable. If you tune into your intuition, not your emotional body, your intuition, and your intuition says, live streaming is going to get you results. Live streaming is how you're going to impact your audience. You've got to work through your fear of visibility, of judgment, of rejection, of all the other stuff that's a mindset, and show up because you know that's the right thing for you to do, and you're being told that that's divine guidance, the step to take. So you want to live from a space, from an energy where you're constantly being guided and you're being given the next right step, because ultimately that's our purpose here. Where all this work that we're doing, the healing, the spiritual work that we're doing, it is to bring in our higher self so we can integrate the 5D version of ourselves and move into a 5D shift in this world, right? And so all that information that you're getting from your higher self, they're supporting you in creating that shift. They're like, this is what's going to help create that. This is what's going to make this next shift. This is what's going to bring you what you want. This is how you're going to fulfill your divine purpose. So the single most important thing is to actually be tuning into your higher self and receiving that guidance, to be tuning in and allowing yourself to follow it. And trust is such a big thing. For you to trust yourself and for you to trust the divine, because it can be really challenging. I remember when I launched my mastermind, I had finished with the launch, and because they had told me exactly how many people were going to sign up. They had told me, launch this is what's going to get you what you want, this is what the next step for you, this is how many people are going to sign up. And I remember, did the launch, I had closed it, and I was like, excuse me, Spirit, I didn't have that amount of people sign up. And they were just like, and just wait. And I was like, okay, I trust. And I leaned back, and literally, like 2 days after the cart closed and everything shut, I had like a whole bunch of people reach out to me and be like, I want in, like sign me up, made the payment, and it was the exact number that they gave to me. And I was like, well, there you go. And it's really interesting because when we start to trust the divine and really just allow ourselves to be guided and to take action for it, things start to change, and it just doesn't feel like we're using our will and our force to actually push it, which is very masculine. We're just allowing it to be magnetized, to be divinely guided, to take steps, which is much more flowing and in alignment. And for most of us women, that feels really good. That's how we want to run our business. We don't want to be like forcing and expending so much energy. We just want to flow and be and create, because that's what feels good for us. And a lot of people are really disconnected from the height of potential timeline, which is why I say to you, really go ask your higher self to show you what is possible for you, what is the height of potential timeline for you. Because I work with clients, where they come to me and they say, this is where I'm at my business, like it's not feeling good. And I'll actually tune into their higher self, and the higher self will say, actually, you're supposed to be doing this completely different thing. And this is what you're here to do, and this is your sole purpose. And they'll go, deep down, I knew it, but I don't know how to actually honor that, trust that, listen to that. And then it's about building a business that is linked to that, because that's where everything just comes with ease and grace, because it's not about denying the part of yourself that's telling you, hey, this is what you're here for, this is a step you need to take, and you going, well, my logical mind, my strategic side, my masculine aspect is saying this. We've got to lean into that intuitive, aligned aspect of ourselves, because it's consistently guiding us. So when you do your meditation today, and if you're not meditating daily, spend time each day checking in. Maybe you'll do it if you pull oracle cards, right? You'll sit down, you pull some oracle cards, you meditate. Just take some time to check in with your higher self and say to your higher self, show me what's possible for me on my height of potential timeline. Let yourself receive information, words, images. A lot of it you'll probably be like, ooh, that is what I want, but I just, maybe you were too scared to ask for it. Maybe it seemed too out there. Allow yourself to really tune into that, what you're being shown, and then ask, what do I need to do to make this happen? What action do I need to take? What do I need to do in my business? And you're going to be told the next step. And it's really interesting because when I work with my higher self for my business, I don't kind of get told 50 steps in advance. Like last night when I'm telling about the course that I'm creating at the moment, they're like, okay, first step is do this. And they give me the next step. And I'm like, okay, what after that? They were like, no, do that first and then come back and ask. So you might just get one small step. Do that. And then go back and ask. And the more you say yes to your higher self, the more you say, okay, I'm listening, I'm trusting, it's going to get easier. The first time, it's going to be really challenging. Maybe the first advice that you get from your higher self is to stop seeing one-off clients, or to stop doing this kind of program that you're doing that is kind of draining you and not feeling good. It's going to be really challenging to do that, but in your heart, in your intuition, you know that's the right step for you. And so all you can do is just trust, because if you truly believe that you have a soul purpose here, that you're being guided to do that, and that we're moving into this 5D connection, that 5D self is of course going to want to lead you there and guide you there. And, you know, that's the ultimate reason we're doing all of this, and we're being guided and taken on this path. So they want you to have an impact. They want you to be successful. They want you to have money so you can do everything that you want. And it's up to you to actually tune in and say, okay, guide me, show me the next step. What is the next step? And when you receive it, to take action on it. So this for me is like, it's a critical part of my business. Like, my business would not be a business if I wasn't doing this. I'd probably be doing something like social media management, because I'd be like, oh, I can't be like a spiritual business owner, or I can't teach spirituality. I just tell myself all these bullshit stories if I wasn't listening to my higher self that was saying, this is what you're here to do, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to do it. And so I can't stress that enough, how important it is to be tuning into your higher self and just really getting the confirmation. And even like my business coach knows, whenever I see her, she'll say, okay, well, let's do the strategy. And I'll be like, okay, just let me double check, like, with my higher self that that's, you know, the right step for me. And I have come back to her and gone, yeah, that's like, I'm not getting a yes for that pathway. And she's not super spiritual, but she's like, yeah, that's fine. Like, she knows that's how I operate, and she's seen, like, you know, me kind of channel and predict things, and go, if I do this, this is going to happen, and this is what they're telling me, and the next step is, and she's seen kind of how it works. So she's really open to me being like that. But your higher self, it can absolutely direct your business and take you to where you want to be. Your higher self is the greater aspect of you that you're here to embody and integrate. So give it that space. Allow your higher self to come in and guide you and give you the business advice and guidance. Okay, does anybody have any questions about this? Danielle says, I so needed to hear this. I need to learn how to listen for the guidance. Yes. So most of the time, listening for, if you have any questions, anybody else, post them down as well. But for learning to listen how to guidance, it's really about creating space, right? Because when our ego, our conscious mind, we're creating all this noise in our mind and this chatter, what's happening is we're not allowing for space. We're not allowing for the higher energies to come in. So the most important thing you can do to listen for the guidance is to get into a state where you're in a theta state, ideally, which you can do just by doing a meditation, just getting nice and relaxed. And you're in a space where your ego, your conscious mind isn't like, oh, put this on your to-do list. And, oh, remember, we've got to do this thing tomorrow. That's silent. And then it's for you just to create that spark and go, okay, higher self, and create that connection. It's going to be your intention and connection. It's really interesting because, you know, our soul, our higher self, doesn't actually start to engage with us that much until we set the intention that we want to. So it's very rare that someone's higher self and soul will start taking direction and do all this stuff until the person is actually awakened and going, this is how I want to live now. So get into a quiet state, conscious mind, disconnected, set the intention to connect, and just ask a question and allow yourself to receive. But it's going to be really hard if you're not in a meditative state, if your ego is kind of noisy and you haven't kind of learned how to differentiate between the two voices. So that's, you know, and I do teach channeling and how to do it in great detail, but that's kind of like a baseline of how to just begin connecting. So if there are any other questions, post them down below in the comments and I will get to them. I will answer them. Otherwise, I'm still offering the business abundance strategy sessions to find out what's actually blocking you from creating the results. And I tune in and we work with a strategy and you walk away with the kind of the next step for what you need to be doing in your business. So if you do want to apply to that, post the link in the comments. Otherwise, thank you so much everyone for hopping on, and let me know how you go with asking your higher self for guidance and for information. I'd love to hear that. All right, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.